has come. For 300 years, we prepared, we grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power.
I think we can all agree that video games journalism is kind of broken. You know, I would think the biggest story with a game like The Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, would be that the fact that the game released broken as a demo. Nobody could play it. If you're not aware, The Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin is like a side Final Fantasy game that is coming out this year or next year. But a demo dropped like right after E3. And it dropped broken. So nobody could play it. Kind of a big deal. At least worth really going into, and some sites did. Eurogamer actually talked about it, and a few others put out it was broken, and update, it's now fixed. So you can now, as of 6/15, go and play it. But when you go to a site like Kotaku, and some other sites, Polygon and IGN, you get stuff like this. Final Fantasy Origins normie F-boy scores more stylish gear as you play. Stranger of Paradise's lead looks lame, but at least his fits improve. What's the problem with this? Well, he looks like Paul Walker, I guess. Problem is he's a normie F-boy. Tired of the same looking protagonist. So we get a whole article complaining about his gear and how he looks, which I found kind of funny. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins main character looks completely out of place. But here's some good news from the newly fixed demo. His wardrobe quickly expands into including clothes and accessories that better fit the setting. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is a Team Ninja developed Souls-like that takes place in the world of the original Final Fantasy. Sounds really freaking cool, right? Actually, it kind of does. Can they actually pull that off? We'll see, but that's a really interesting take. Like, this would be something worth talking about. A Final Fantasy Souls-like game being made by Team Ninja. I'm not sure if they can do it. We'll see. But it's an interesting it's an interesting concept. Here's like, it just looks like somewhat of a Souls game. Will they be able to do this? I don't know. We'll see. Are they going to bend the knee to difficulty? These games need to be challenging. They need to be a challenge. This was kind of the problem I had with Fallen Order, which had an easy mode. Games like that should have no options when it comes to difficulty, but whatever. This is worth talking about. This would be a much better article. Could Final Fantasy pull off a Dark Souls copy? Like, that's a good topic. But instead, what do we get? We get this. Well, the excitement of this E3 2021 announcement was dampened considerably by the game's ostensible heroes, a casually dressed group led by a boring, chaos-obsessed dude named Jack, who looks more like a Paul Walker stunt double than a Final Fantasy protagonist. I disagree. If you look at most of the characters in Final Fantasy games, they all look like normal people. They've kind of ditched that fantasy, like, cartoonish aesthetic that they all used to have. Like, they all look like regular people with crazy hair. Like, there's no really exaggerated features. And that's kind of the extent of things. It's good or bad. It depends on what you want. I kind of miss the old days, you know, where they had the big straw hats and no faces, but they had the dark eyes. Like, I kind of miss those days, but maybe that's just me. After getting a chance to play it, I'll be happy to report that eventually he looks like he belongs, and to talk about his stuff changes. There's no need to go too much into this. The point is, this is the kind of journalism you get from video games. Garbage. That's it. Garbage. Let's tie this back to the video I made this morning on the Five Nights at Freddy's creator who said he's retiring. And that's because games journalists and a lot of people in the Twitter mob and other social media mobs are going after him. He's like, I don't need this anymore. I'm retiring. I wish he wasn't, but he is. You, of course, already have games journalists celebrating, even though, you know, they should stay, neutral on this? It's more activism in journalism for video games than there is actual reporting. There seems to be a reason for that. This dropped today by Sophia Narwitz. Great article, by the way. Great article. A source came out to her talking about a clique that gatekeeps people from entering mainstream games journalism. If you are conservative, you have no chance. Games Journalism Insider outs clique that runs industry like private domain. Very, very interesting stuff. I'm just going to go over a little bit of it here. This is what her source had to say. An influential figure from a leading game website says that a clique of like-minded media figures are colluding to prevent right-wing journalists and developers from having a voice in the industry. If you were openly a conservative and tried to apply to any of the mainstream outlets that are on the coast, I don't think you'd have a chance in hell of getting in, says the senior source who wishes to remain anonymous for fear of repercussions. There's a lot of us that probably think there's a clique. Well, there's a clique, they say. The clique is composed of journalists from well-known gaming and tech websites, among them Kotaku, Polygon, Vice, Games Daily, GameSpot, Eurogamer, and loads more. People won't write something, or we won't say something, or say anything on Twitter or whatever because you spew one wrong opinion and you're asking for trouble, says the source who has admitted keeping their own opinions private to avoid sanction. Unless you don't care about political potential opportunities within the industry, a lot of people just don't say what they're actually thinking. One thing that's funny that she points out in here that's interesting is how there's a lot of hypocrisy in action. Surprising, I know. Talking about people like this guy, Danny O'Dyer, formerly of GameSpot, used to drop N-bombs on Twitter. Patrick Klepek, the guy that I just showed you right here, who has a history of rap jokes. And it's funny, on this post right here, there's all kinds of people pointing out the things that he said in the past. And will any of that get reported on? No. None of it will be. None of the journalists that have dropped N-bombs, and apparently there's a whole bunch of people that are pointing out here that have dropped N-bombs and stuff like that. None of them will be ostracized from games journalism. Why? Because they're in the club. They're in the clique. It was just a one-time thing. They've changed, but other people are incapable of changing. And that's kind of the narrative that's been going on in games journalism for a long, long time. And it's truly, truly hypocritical. And she did a really good job of exposing that. So check it out. Here's the headline. If you search it, it'll pop right up. I know a lot of people say we'll put the link in the description. And I don't like doing that because YouTube's really iffy about it. And sometimes they'll take down videos and stuff for it. That's why I never really put article links in the descriptions. Just search that headline and it'll pop right up. Give it a read. It's a great, great article. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that and subscribe if you're new.